Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Box Office Talk. This is the show where I break down what happened at the box office, see if my predictions for the top 5 are correct, then make predictions for next week's top 5. So let's get right on into it. Last week I predicted that number 1 would be Mickey 17, number 2 would be Captain America Brave New World, number 3 would be In the Lost Lands, number 4 would be Last Breath, and number 5 would be The Monkey. And god damn it, I only got 2 out of 5 of my predictions right for this weekend. Started off okay with the first couple, then it went off a cliff. If you got your predictions right for this weekend, here's your shout out right now. Congratulations for not putting so much faith in fucking In the Lost Lands, which was up until like a couple minutes ago before I pressed record, I thought had squeaked into the top 10, but it didn't. Something else, according to Box Office Mojo, had it over the edge, and now I can't even talk about how it's the lowest opening weekend ever for a Paul W.S. Anderson film. Will probably go down as his lowest grossing film, you know? God, man, I was really looking forward to doing that. But I can't. Anyways, let's move on in the video. Number 1 was, of course, Mickey 17. I figured this was going to happen. I'm not sure, I haven't checked the comments yet for the predictions, so I'm not sure if everyone else was kind of like, no, it might not even get to number 1 because it's estimated to be low and, it's still going up against a Marvel movie. I always figured it would be number 1 at the very least just because it is, something new, after a couple weeks of Captain America. And it does have Robert Pattinson. He does have some fans out there, but I was kind of thinking this is either going to do like surprisingly okay or it won't do that great. And yeah, on a budget of 118 million, I think this is after some tax breaks, something like that, whatever. They still need quite a bit of money in order to be considered a success. The doubling point to break even. They only opened to 19 million domestically, and then worldwide it is only at $53 million right now. So not a fantastic startup. I think the cinema score from what I remember was like surprisingly like higher than you'd think for a movie like that. Like I remember when I saw this, and I liked the movie, but I was like, I am not sure if this is going to be like, I can see why this wouldn't catch on with like some mainstream like casual audiences, because it is a very specific kind of movie, like a specific kind of oddball little tone for a big sci-fi movie like this. But if I'm thinking correctly, it did get a decent like cinema score. The people that have seen it, even if it's maybe not their thing, I think there are still some other people out there that are like, I still kind of liked it though. Not enough people though, unfortunately. For Bong Joon-ho, this is obviously his largest wide release domestic opening weekend because everything else has been, playing in the festival circuits, or it's Okja and it went straight to Netflix, you know what I mean? So this is his largest wide release ever. But still, like, I do not think that's going to translate into box office success. But to be fair, I mean, this is him coming off of an Academy Award, best director, best original screenplay, best picture kind of winning streak with Parasite, right? This is his next big movie after that. And I feel like we've put a lot in stock of like how well it's going to do, other than like, this is just him, now partnered up with a bigger studio, cashing in like some goodwill, you know what I mean? So honestly, this is like, I've seen it kind of floated around, this kind of phrase, but it is like, this one's for like the arts as opposed to like the money, something like that. And yeah, like this is just something that Bong Joon-ho wanted to do. Obviously it is disappointing though that like such a swing like this will not get rewarded in the way that, a lot of people, and, myself included, should think it should. And also it does not help that it is coming out in the current landscape that we are in, where, Warner Brothers is run by David Zaslav, and David Zaslav, despite any other fluff pieces they try to put out about the guy, oh, he's so nice, look at him taking pictures of fucking the Michael DeLuca and Pam Abdi, like, oh, he's like a little dad or whatever. He's so anti-art, you know what I mean? He knows nothing about like the film business. He's just going in and making cuts, shelving shit, not for the sake of art, just for the sake of a fucking spreadsheet. And that's fucking weak sauce, man. So obviously this movie coming out at that time where a lot of people are like very in tune with like how well something does at the box office, what studio heads are running a company, and what their decision making will be as far as like even, physical distribution later. It's Ay vey, man, it's not great. So me personally, I don't necessarily care how well this movie does. I mean, in general, it's like if a movie's still good, I'm all good. I might have some, quibbles with how well it does, but overall though, if it's a movie I like, it's a movie I like, doesn't necessarily matter. And I think Bong Joon-ho, being the legendary filmmaker he is, someone's going to want to keep working with him, and that's all that really matters. You know what I mean? That being said, yeah, it is still disappointing though that this still couldn't like break through in that way. We are still kind of in the landscape of people clamoring for, more original titles, like, oh, they never make anything original. It's just these IP, whatever. And technically this is based off of the novel, that's for sure. But that being said, it's not, from what I recall, it's not like they promoted it as much. It's not like in all of the marketing, it was like based on the international bestseller Mickey 7. But either way, though, whether it's, a completely fresh original idea or it's based on a book that came out that maybe not many people are aware is based on a book, either way, it is still like another alternative to like, what people complain about. It's a big sequel, or it's a remake of like a more obvious direct remake of something, and they still won't go see it. I don't know, man. Like, people are less curious these days, and that part is still very bothersome to me. Anyways, though, for Bong Joon-ho's domestic filmography, it did outgross Memories of Murder and Mother by 19 million. Not that Mother, by the way. 17 million over The Host. Not that The Host, by the way. Different ones. And it's 15 million over Snowpiercer. It needs 34 million until it closes the gap between Parasite. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what kind of hold this has, if it just drops off drastically, but I don't know. Maybe it can squeak by how much Parasite made, but Parasite on a low budget, and of course the awards love, that's what got it by in the end, and the big kind of cult acclaim after the fact. We're kind of a little too early to tell, but I'm not sure what kind of life Mickey 17 will have, post theaters. Parasite, because of all the accolades and just how much attention was drawn to it, that is still living on. Whereas this one, it could get lost in the shuffle. Who knows? Worldwide numbers, it did outgross Memories of Murder and Barking Dogs Never Bite by 53 million, 51 million over Okja. These are movies that got released internationally, Barking Dogs and Okja, by the way. In the US, Okja was only released on Netflix, so it doesn't count, obviously. And it outgrossed Mother by 36 million. It needs 29 million until it gets to Snowpiercer. So that's where we're at with Mickey 17. Not a shock that it's not doing incredibly well. Is it still disappointing? Yeah, absolutely. But at the end of the day, this was Bong Joon-ho's choice after, making Parasite. And I just think, as far as like an artist goes, I don't think he necessarily will care that much. I think he just was really drawn to the story, and now that he had, this clout from Parasite, getting all this stuff, he could go to a big studio, get the budget he wanted for this big sci-fi movie. So yeah, I'm looking forward to what he continues to do, because obviously this isn't the end of him. Anyways, and you can still go check it out, please do. Number 2 is Captain America Brave New World, making 8.5, adding to a domestic total of 176 million. So for the MCU, it did squeak by Eternals by 12 million, and it just barely got by the first Avenger by just a couple 100,000. It needs 4 million now until it squeaks by Ant-Man. I was going to update to see like which individual Captain America films is like how much more until it gets to Winter Soldier or whatever. It's not going to get there. It doesn't. If it comes up here in the MCU list, cool, but I'm not going to do them individually. Worldwide, it is sitting at 370 million. So it did cross over 10 million, what the initial production budget is allegedly at, of $180 million. But obviously, as we've discussed, it probably is a lot higher. A lot of these like bigger budget movies these days, there's reports of the budget, going over, or there's more put in for marketing, or, because of the reshoots, they're not telling you how much that added on. So it probably, and just in general, it needs a lot more, just, as far as like what kind of image it has as these big money makers. And now they're like, well, not as much. For the overall MCU, it did outgross the first Avenger by just a couple 100,000, similar to the domestic numbers. It's now sitting behind Black Widow by 9 million. So hey, it's going to outgross one of the MCU COVID releases, but just squeaking by that just now is like, that's not a great look. I think I've said this in one of the videos. It didn't need to like break all these records, right? It just needed to make a decent amount of cash. And I can't say that this is for the standards that we have in place for the solo movies. This is not a decent amount of cash for it. This is the bare minimum, and that's not good enough for them. Number 3 is Last Breath. Still no worldwide totals for this, so it's just kind of sticking here. It held over-ish. So, did it? I don't know. It made 4.2 million, adding to a domestic total of 14 million. So there's no worldwide totals to bump it up, so we're still with this 23.8 initial production budget it is not over. So I don't know what else to say here. It's fucking sinking. Ayo, but it's fucking going down. I guess unlike the True Story, because they did get that guy up. Spoilers, I guess, but it's a true story, and it's a documentary. It's probably better to watch as a documentary. It's an okay movie. Number 4, let's just move right along. I don't care. Number 4 is The Monkey, making 3.9 million, adding to a domestic total of 31 million. Worldwide, it is sitting at 39 million. So we're close to a quadruple point for its initial production budget of either 10 to 11 million. million. For Oz Perkins, the distance between this and Longlegs domestically is 43 million. Worldwide, it's 86 million. I did want to look at Neon's overall lists as well. Domestically, it is 1 million over I, Tonya. It's sitting behind Parasite by 22 million. I don't think it has the momentum to get there, but it is currently the third highest grossing film ever for them domestically. And then worldwide, it is 7 million over Triangle of Sadness and only 1 million away from Ferrari. And then once it gets that 1 million worldwide, it'll be in the top 5 for Neon. So there you go, the fucking monkey. Oz Perkins, I'm telling you, he's a real gem with Neon. He knows how to get some butts in the seats. I'm not sure, because there's still no trailer released for the next one he's doing with Tatiana Maslany. I think Keeper was the title. So there's no trailer for that yet. No idea when it's going to be. I think later this year at some point, but I'm not sure off the top of my head when. I'm interested to see, since I'm hearing that described as like a bit more of like a single location, like chamber piece kind of movie, if that will have even the same success that The Monkey did. But I mean, he's making these movies for pretty low budget, and if it's a chamber piece, then it's probably maybe even lower than what Longlegs and The Monkey cost. So I'm curious to see what else he's able to do, specifically, you know, how commercially they do, because obviously he started off a bit more in the indie scene with Black Coat's Daughter and I Am the Pretty Thing in Your House currently. And then Gretel and Hansel, although, you know, that one cost 5 million to make and it made about over 20 million worldwide from what I recall. I mean, that's still like that's pretty good for the budget it had, but it's not like this huge thing, right? But the fact that he's, you know, now he's the Longlegs guy, you know what I mean? He's known for, you know, turning out these big hits, and even The Monkey, even if it's not the same as Longlegs, the numbers wise, it is still being seen as this big hit. I'm curious to see, you know, how he will use that clout in his filmmaking and if he's able to maintain that kind of commercial success. But that's a bit more of a side thing. I'm really impressed. Number 5 is Paddington in Peru, getting so close, by the way, to its initial production budget doubling point. Made 3.8 million domestically, which now adds to a domestic total of 36 million. So closing the gap on this and Paddington 2 now by 4 million. Worldwide, it is sitting at 175 million. So it's 66 million away from Paddington 2, but more importantly, just 5 million away from doubling its initial production budget of 90 million. Unless it was low, I feel like I saw the numbers.com have it at 75, but when I checked Wikipedia, it said 90, so I was like, well, I think that's a little more believable, but it could be 75, it could also be 75, so maybe it has already doubled this budget, or maybe it's about to. Either way, I think they're like a little bit in the clear at this point. It's still currently going down as one of the lower grossing Paddington films, which I still think, even if they have been able to break even, I still think maybe that is a little disappointing for the creatives involved. But, you know, maybe we'll get another one someday. Number 6 is Dogman, making 3.5 million, adding to a domestic total of 88 million. It is 2 million away from DreamWorks' Ants. Worldwide, it is sitting at 119 million, so 7 million away from Captain Underpants, but more importantly, just 1 million away from tripling its initial production budget of 40 million. So there we go. I do kind of wish it had a bit more momentum to, you know, potentially get to like a quadruple point. It's obviously doing fine, and I feel like maybe if I took a step back, I did enjoy the movie, but maybe if I took a step back from these high expectations I had of it doing at the box office, maybe I would look at this and go like, yeah, actually this makes a lot of sense. But I am a little surprised because it definitely feels like it died off kind of quickly. I say died off, but I think it's just more like it just started to fade away a lot sooner. You know, it had a respectable run, but not like a solid, you know, pretty decent run. I don't know. Am I making any sense? I don't give a shit. Let's move on to something more exciting. Number 7 was Anora, obviously coming back into the top 10 because it won Best Picture, won all these Oscars, which really cool, really awesome to see that happen. Really fantastic film. It made 1.8 million, adding to a domestic total of 18 million. So for Neon, I wanted to throw this in because we already talked about when it was here how it outgrossed all these other Sean Baker movies. Now let's talk about Neon. It's a couple 100,000 over Ferrari, and it's only behind The Monkey by 13 million. So Anora is currently in the top 5 for Neon. So that's pretty great. It's just right behind The Monkey. And I don't think it has the momentum to catch up to it. You know, even though it did win Best Picture, it only bumped up to 1.8 million for the weekend. People have already seen it. Some people are probably checking it out at home instead of the theaters. But still, that's pretty cool as far as like the theatrical window where there it is for Neon's list right here. And then worldwide it is sitting at 46 million, so well over the double, triple, quadruple point for 6 million budget. Obviously I heard that they spent like 18 million to do the For Your Consideration awards campaign stuff, which, you know, yeah, obviously they've made that back with how much is here at least, and how much they will continue to get. It outgrossed Ferrari for Neon by 6 million and is 7 million away from I, Tonya. So it's currently the top 4 highest grossing film for them worldwide. So there you go. That's pretty cool if you ask me. that's pretty awesome. So yeah, I have nothing else to add other than that's just really, really something special. And I'm glad it won all these awards. And if you haven't seen it yet, please go check it out. Really great. And I'm glad Emilia Perez we never have to talk about ever again. I'm just glad we never have to look back on that night as like the night Emilia Perez won big and that's bad. You know what I mean? It is a really awful movie. So I'm glad it did not win, except for those 2 categories, but whatever. Number 8 was Mufasa the Lion King, making 1.7 million, adding to a domestic total of 250 million, places the distance between the 2019 film 293 million. Worldwide, it is sitting at 708, so the distance between the 2019 film is 953. I don't have anything else to add. So genuinely, like, I don't need to say the same shit that I've already said about this, so we can just move right along to the 2 big surprises. Not really. Number 9, like I said, Paul W.S. Anderson did not make the top 10. What did? Number 9, Rule Breakers, made 1.5 million this weekend on a budget of I'm not sure, but it could be the same budget as Cabrini or something like that, and I only say that because this is Angel Studios, so I'm just trying to compare, you know, other films that they've released. It needs 3 million until it outgrosses Brave the Dark for that studio. I don't care though. You don't care. I don't care. let's just move along. So that was able to sneak in there. And then number 10 was Night of the Zoopocalypse. This one beat out Paul W.S. Anderson, which is kind of funny. I am not going to see this in theaters. This is kind of one where I'm like, yeah, I feel like if I'm a guessing man, I don't need to see this. But I mean, it got into the top 10. I don't have a budget listed, so maybe it's in trouble. But it made 1.06 million domestically, and then worldwide it is sitting at 3.8. So there's something, I guess. Anyways, now it's time for the fun part, the predictions for next week's top 5. And I do mean fun, because I have no fucking idea what's going to happen. There's quite a few movies coming out, but I really just, being unsure of like where Mickey 17 is going to hold over, where these movies are going to fall in line as far as like connecting with a mainstream audience, where's the advertising, you know what I mean? Like I've seen some promos for some of these, but not all of them. How many people are aware of this, and is Captain America still going to be able to squeak in? I genuinely don't know, so this top 5 might sound crazy to you, but here we go. Number 1, I do think will be Novocaine. I think out of all the new release stuff and some early word of mouth from South by Southwest and some early like mystery movies from Regal and AMC, I was at one. I really enjoyed this movie, by the way, really liked it. So I think some early positive word of mouth will get people in to see that one. Number 2, I think will be Black Bag. Just, I feel like I've seen that trailer a couple times in the theaters, and coupled with the fact that I am starting to see some promos on Peacock of all places, so I feel like they're probably promoting this some other places, and there is some positive word of mouth already, so I think those 2 will be at the top. Maybe this is too optimistic, but I do think maybe Mickey 17 will hold over at number 3. I think maybe it'll have some kind of hold there. Number 4, I think, will be Opus. It is a new A24 horror-looking movie, but I'm not sure how well promoted it is, so I don't want to predict it too high up, but this could be something that just doesn't make the top 5 at all. And then number 5, I think, will be The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie. Genuinely, I would love for this thing to, like, be a success and prove that the Looney Tunes can still be profitable. If anything, just, you know, to show that 2D animation is still, you know, popular with audiences, and also to show Warner Brothers that they are fucking moronic for shelving Coyote versus Acme, right? But that being said, I do not think the promotion is really there. I think there will be some dedicated people that will go see. I'm obviously going to go see it, but I just don't know if it'll be enough to really do very well. Like I said about Opus, I'm not even sure if this one will make the top 5, but I don't know about anything else, so we'll see, you know? Anyways, what are your predictions for next week's top 5? Leave them in the comments below. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.